Before we begin, tell me where you're listening from. Drop it in the comments. Maybe you're someone who thinks job offers from successful people are always about money, prestige, or climbing that corporate ladder. Maybe you believe that when wealthy individuals offer opportunities, it's always because they want something that benefits them more than it benefits you. But have you ever considered that sometimes the most important job offers aren't about working for someone else? They're about accepting a responsibility, one that could change not just your life, but the lives of everyone around you. This conversation is for you. I want to tell you about a job offer I am making to anyone with the courage to accept it. Not because I need employees or because I'm trying to recruit people for my companies. No, this is different. I've realized there's a kind of work that desperately needs to be done, work that only regular people living regular lives in regular communities can do. This isn't about joining a corporation. It's not about moving to Silicon Valley. It's not about earning degrees or collecting credentials that most people don't have. This is about something far more important and far more achievable. It's about accepting responsibility for becoming the kind of person your community needs in difficult times. It's about doing work that truly matters, work that means more than any job title or paycheck ever could. The job I'm offering you is simple to describe but challenging to do well. I want you to become a guardian of human values in your own community. Not a leader, not an expert, not someone with authority or a title, but someone who takes responsibility for preserving and living the qualities that make life meaningful and communities strong. Now, this job doesn't come with a salary, but it comes with something far more valuable, the deep quiet knowing that your life is making a real difference, that what you do day by day will matter long after you're gone, and with that comes something rare, the satisfaction of living by your deepest values instead of chasing goals that only look impressive on the surface. Let me explain what this job involves and why I believe it is the most important work anyone can do. No matter what your career is or how you earn your living, the job I'm offering you requires something simple but powerful. It requires you to become someone who can hold on to hope even when times get hard, someone who keeps perspective when others start to lose theirs. It means helping people remember what truly matters, especially when they're buried under problems that seem impossible to solve. It means showing, not just saying, that it is possible to live with integrity and purpose even when life doesn't make it easy. That's the real work. It means being the calm one in your family when crisis hits, the one who doesn't just complain but helps find a solution. The one who keeps believing in the possibility of better days, even when current evidence whispers otherwise. It means being the neighbor who checks on the elderly when the weather turns extreme. The person who helps struggling families without needing recognition, without expecting anything in return. It's about being the one who steps up, who organizes efforts to fix local problems instead of waiting for government programs or outside help. It's about being that friend, the one who listens without judging, who stands beside others through their toughest moments, who celebrates their wins without envy, and builds relationships based on care, not convenience, but above all, it's about living by principles that stand taller than comfort or convenience. It's about becoming the kind of person whose word actually means something, whose actions reflect what they claim to believe, whose presence, just being around them, gives others hope in humanity again. Now, you might be wondering, why me? Why am I offering this job to you? It's not because of your qualifications. It's not because you've already proven yourself to be extraordinary. It's because every single one of us has the capacity to strengthen the place we live in. Every one of us has the ability to become a quiet force, a guardian of something that matters. And right now, this kind of work is needed everywhere. But I'll be honest with you, this job is harder than it sounds. Being a guardian of human values means making choices that often go against what's easy or popular. It means being patient when the world is rushing, being generous when resources are scarce, speaking truth when lies would make life smoother, holding on to hope when cynicism seems more realistic. It means standing up for those treated unfairly even when it costs you something. It means listening, really listening to people who think differently than you instead of just defending your own views. It means admitting when you're wrong, even when your pride wants to hold on. And sometimes it means taking responsibility for problems you didn't create, problems that technically aren't your job to fix, but you step in anyway because you can and because no one else will. That is where real community begins. The reason I am talking to you about this became clear to me through a few powerful experiences over the past year. Moments that showed me in real time how much difference one person can make when they decide to take personal responsibility for their community. I was visiting a small town in Ohio, a place that had been hit hard by economic change. Families were struggling with unemployment, with losing their homes, and with that deep, quiet despair that sets in when you start to believe your community is dying and no one can save it. The local manufacturing plant had shut down 2 years earlier. When it closed, it didn't just take hundreds of jobs, It took the very foundation of the town, the businesses, the schools, the community programs, everything. Walking through the downtown area felt like walking through loss, empty storefronts, houses with foreclosure signs, and that heavy silence that falls over places where hope feels like it's been forgotten. But here's what surprised me. In the middle of all that, I met a few people who had decided they weren't going to wait for help anymore. They had chosen to become guardians of human values right there in their own neighborhood, and their small personal choices were creating ripple effects, waves of change that no government program, no outside investor could have ever achieved. One of them was a retired teacher named Margaret. She had started a free tutoring program in her living room for kids whose parents couldn't afford extra help. At first, she was just helping 3 children with their homework, but that little act grew into something much bigger. Her home became a community learning center, a place where dozens of families gathered. It became more than tutoring. It became a hub for hope, a place where kids felt seen and capable, where parents could connect with others facing similar struggles, where the entire neighborhood started to believe again that maybe, just maybe, their situation wasn't hopeless. If they worked together, I asked Margaret how she managed to do all this without funding, without support, without help from the system. She smiled and said, I realized waiting for someone else to fix things wasn't realistic. These children needed help now today, and I had the time, the skills, and the willingness to start. Once I began, people wanted to join. Parents started helping with rides and snacks. Older students tutored younger ones. Neighbors brought supplies. She said it grew because it mattered and because people could see it was making a difference. Then I met a man named Carlos. He had lost his job when that same manufacturing plant shut down, but instead of leaving town or giving up, he used his mechanical skills to help people. He started fixing appliances and cars for his neighbors, charging only 4 parts and sometimes accepting help on community projects instead of cash. Carlos had become the person everyone called when they couldn't fix something on their own. But more than that, he became the one holding together the fragile network of trust and cooperation that kept their community alive. His small workshop became a meeting place, a place where men struggling with unemployment came not just to repair machines, but to repair their sense of usefulness. They shared tools, they shared skills, and in that little garage, they rebuilt not just engines, but confidence, connection, purpose. When I asked Carlos why he stayed, he said something that stayed with me. He said, I could have been bitter, I could have packed up and gone somewhere new, but this town has been good to me for 20 years. Now it needs people who are willing to invest in it, not escape from it. When you fix a neighbor's problem, you're not just repairing their appliance, you're repairing the social fabric that keeps us together. And then there was Sarah, a woman who had organized a community garden on abandoned lots that once made the neighborhood look lifeless and forgotten. Her garden brought something powerful, fresh food for families who couldn't afford it, and a reason for neighbors to come together to work side by side and to take pride in their surroundings. Again, Sarah didn't have a background in farming or community planning, but she researched urban gardening. She reached out to property owners. She convinced dozens of families to pitch in even when people told her it would never work. She said, they told me the soil was contaminated, that vandals would destroy everything, that it was a waste of time. Then she smiled. But I figured even if it failed, at least we'd have spent time doing something good together. Turns out it didn't fail. It grew literally and figuratively. Kids learned where food really comes from. Families saved money. Neighbors talked again. And as I watched, I realized something beautiful was happening. Margaret's tutoring center, Carlos's workshop, and Sarah's garden, they weren't isolated acts of kindness. They were connected. They were strengthening each other, creating a web of hope that pulled the whole community upward. Kids from Margaret's program helped in Sarah's garden. Parents from the tutoring center brought their broken appliances to Carlos. The garden's harvest became food for community dinners where people planned new projects together. It was all connected, all because 3 people decided to stop waiting and start doing. None of them had funding, none had titles, none had permission. They just took responsibility, and because of that, they changed the story of their town. When I asked Margaret why she started that little tutoring program, she said something that perfectly captured what it means to be a guardian of human values. She said, I realized complaining wasn't going to solve anything, waiting for the government or some big organization to fix it all. That wasn't realistic, but I could do something right now today to make life better for the kids on my street. Then she paused, smiled, and said, once you start doing something positive, you realize other people want to help too. They were just waiting for someone to go first. That right there is the heart of what I'm offering. The most important thing isn't having a plan that's perfect. It is about taking that first step and trusting that others will follow once they see you are serious about making a difference. This is the job I'm offering you. Finding something, anything you can do right now that makes life just a little better for the people around you, then doing it consistently instead of waiting for perfect conditions or for someone else to take the lead. The beauty of this work is that it doesn't require you to quit your job or uproot your entire life. It simply asks you to open your eyes, to look for opportunities, to help, to support, to embody the values you wish the world had more of, using what you already have, the time you can give, the skills you've built, the compassion you already carry. Maybe you're good with kids. Maybe you could offer childcare for a single parent trying to stay afloat. Maybe you've got practical skills. You can fix things, build things, repair what others can't. Maybe you're a good listener, someone who can be there for others during their darkest days. Maybe you've got the ability to organize, to rally neighbors for a cleanup, or to coordinate help for families in need. Or maybe your gift is communication, helping people who disagree find common ground. Again, it doesn't matter what form it takes. What matters is the consistency, the care, the heart you put into it, because when you give from that place, it multiplies. Now I want to share one more story to show you how different this work can look depending on who you are and what your community needs, because there isn't just one way to be a guardian of values. There are thousands. But before that, let me be clear about something. Accepting this job offer isn't just about helping others. It's about transforming you. When you take this path, you stop waiting for external circumstances to line up before you can be happy. You stop needing life to be perfect before you feel fulfilled. You start finding meaning not in big achievements, but in the small, quiet choices you make each day. You start building relationships based on care, not convenience. You start attracting people who share your values, not just your interests. You begin to develop something priceless. A reputation for integrity, for reliability, for heart. People start saying if they're involved, it's going to be done right. If they said it, they'll do it. And that trust, that character is worth more than any title or promotion. Most importantly, you begin to create a legacy, not one that fades when your job ends, but one that keeps living through the people you've influenced, through the hope you've sparked, through the example you've set. Because when you live this way, you don't just change your own life, you change what's possible for everyone around you. The job I'm offering you doesn't end when you retire. It doesn't stop when your kids move out, or when life gets busy, or when the world feels too overwhelming. This job, it becomes who you are, because once you start living this way, you can't unsee it. You can't walk past people suffering and pretend it's not your business. You can't ignore small opportunities to help because you've seen the difference they make. You start realizing every time you show up, every time you speak kindness instead of anger, every time you act with integrity when no one is watching, you're reinforcing the foundation of humanity itself. That's no small thing. You're becoming the kind of person people trust, the kind of person they look to when life gets hard, the kind of person who leaves others better than you found them. And here's the thing most people miss: you don't need money, you don't need power, you don't need permission to do that. You just need a decision, a quiet, private decision that from this day forward, you'll show up differently. You'll stop waiting for someone else to take responsibility for the world you live in. You'll stop blaming and start building. You'll stop judging and start understanding. You'll stop scrolling past the problems and start asking, what can I do? Even if it's small, even if it's inconvenient, even if no one thanks you. That's the kind of work that shifts the energy of a community. It creates ripples because the moment you start acting from love instead of ego, others notice. They might not say anything, but they feel it, and slowly they begin to change too. I've seen it happen countless times. One person decides to care and suddenly 10 others start helping. One person decides to speak truth and suddenly others find their voice too. One person forgives and a decades-old conflict begins to heal. That's how real change begins. Not in boardrooms, not on social media, but in hearts one by one. So if you have been waiting for a sign that it is time to do something meaningful with your life, this is it. This is your invitation, your job offer, your calling. You don't need to apply. You don't need credentials. You don't need anyone's approval. You already have everything you need: the compassion, the insight, the strength, the humanity. All that's left is to decide, to stand up and say quietly or out loud, I accept the job. And from that moment on, the world will never look the same to you again. Because the truth is, this world doesn't need more critics. It doesn't need more noise. It needs builders, healers, protectors of what's good and human and kind. It needs people like you, people who remember what really matters. Not fame, not applause, not how many followers you have, but how many lives you've touched, how many hearts you've helped heal, how many times you stood for something when it would have been easier to stay silent. That's the real definition of success. It's not the numbers in your account. It's the stories people will tell about you long after you're gone. The stories that begin with, they were there for me when I needed someone. They believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. They reminded me what decency looks like. That's legacy. That's wealth of the soul. And it's something no one can take away from you. One day the titles will fade, the positions will change hands, the world will move on. But the seeds you planted, the kindness, the courage, the hope, they'll keep growing in people you may never meet. That's why this job matters so much, because even when you're gone, your work continues. Every time someone you help decides to help someone else, you live on through them. Every time your words echo in another person's heart, your light keeps shining. So if you've ever wondered, what's my purpose? What am I really here to do? It's this. To be the keeper of what's right, the guardian of what's good, the reminder of what's human. And it doesn't matter where you start as long as you start. So go out there, do your work quietly, steadily, with love and conviction. Smile at strangers, be patient with the difficult ones. Help those who can't repay you, stand up for those who can't stand for themselves, and protect the flame of decency in a world that sometimes forgets how to be kind. Because every time you do, you strengthen the fabric of this world. You remind humanity that it still has hope, and that that's the greatest work any of us could ever do. So my friend, the job is yours if you'll take it. The question is, will you say,